Good morning and Merry Christmas. Welcome to Inside Tennessee. Boy, do we have a gift for you today in terms of politics and a lot of fun on the set. Susan Richardson Williams is a Republican, the regular for us here on that side of the aisle. Don Bosch is a Democrat, the regular for us on that side of the aisle. He runs his own law firm. She runs her own PR firm. And my colleague John North joins us for this discussion, which is always one of our favorites because we sum up the year in politics in 2022. And we're going to start with the political winner, loser, and the issue of the year locally. We'll do that nationally and also at the state level. But let's start at the local level. And Susan, we'll start with you. Merry Christmas. Your 2022 political winner of the year is?
I have two.
Okay.
One is Chancellor Dondi Plowman. I think of all the people that are in the news in Knoxville, Tennessee, she is the one who has probably gotten more positive comments in media. She's doing an incredible job. The students love her.
She survived COVID.
The faculty seem to love her. Alumni love her, and she's everywhere. I mean, she is really a hands-on chancellor, and so I really want to do a shout out to her. My second one is Courtney Durrett. She's a Democrat and ends up chairman of county commission when there's mostly Republicans.
Well, one of those Christmas ghosts got you this morning, didn't they?
They did. But, I mean, that was pretty impressive that the women, Republican women, thought enough of her to elect her to be county chair.
Don Bosch, your winner for 2022 locally.
Well, Merry Christmas to everybody. So, you know, Susan and I talk, and as all of us do, these are kind of tough to pick sometimes. Mine's a little bit outside of the mainstream, but newly appointed Judge Hector Sanchez, Knox County Criminal Court, appointed by Governor Lee, the first Latino judge, trial judge, appointed in the state of Tennessee, and I'm happy the governor saw, at least in part, a need for diversity, but he also picked the best candidate, and it's nice to see a little change and change on the bench. And Hector, he may be my loser next year, depending on how he rules in some of my cases, but right now he's my winner.
Each year we ask you to predict your winners, losers, and issue of the year. Let's revisit that. John, last year these two both picked for their political winner of 2022, Mayor Glenn Jacobs of Knox County.
I guess in retrospect, I wouldn't agree with that.
Funny you should say that.
Well, he did win. Not maybe by as much as some thought he would, but he was reelected, and you know, you gotta give him kudos for that.
Well, let's move to the loser of 2022, Don Bosch. This year, who's your political loser locally?
Well, in that same vein, I have both of our mayors, city and county, as our losers. Frankly, towards the end of the year particularly, they both received a lot of negative attention. Mayor Kincannon over issues of transparency, Mayor Jacobs over issues with his hires and some internal perceived corruption, not by the mayor, but by some of his chief staffers. And they've really, I think a lot of people are looking at them going, what's going on at the helms of both ships? And so I picked those two as our losers.
Susan, you're a loser for 2022, politically speaking.
Well, this one is hard for me because I hate to call people losers, but my selection for this year is actually Daniel Herrera. You know, he's the current Republican Party county chairman and has been incredibly controversial among many Republicans in this county. And in fact, he's not going to run for re-election, which is pretty unusual because they generally will serve 2 terms. But he's bowing out, but I think I would have to put him at the top of my list.
So let's revisit for your prediction for this year. Don Bosch predicted Daniel Herrera would be the loser of 2022. John North,
Bingo.
you're the arbiter here.
I'd say that's correct.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, John.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it was. I mean, you know, obviously when he was picked, there was sort of a generational shift there. I remember talking to you I think that day, because it was on a Saturday he got picked. and it was certainly a younger generation or fresh
ran
blood
against Harry
reaction.
Brooks.
Against
Harry
Harry Brooks, I thought he'd be a shoo-in. Boy,
Right.
was I wrong. But the tread has not worn so well on the tire, maybe.
Susan, your loser predicted would be Representative Gloria Johnson, who actually won re-election, but you said redistricting.
But she would
have-
be redistricted, and we weren't sure exactly how that was going to come out. But yeah, she won, even with redistricting.
Only a minute left. Your issue for 2022.
KPD and the selection of Paul Noel as the police chief, and Noel and the revisions that are going on and the controversies that have gone on. It's really been the issue for this year, in my opinion.
Susan, your issue of the
Oh,
year.
I think the baseball stadium, being built downtown, that has been top of mind for everyone. And unfortunately, it's a positive issue and not a negative. If I were looking at negative, I'd have to talk about, I think homelessness is something that's gotten a lot of attention in the city this year.
For your prediction perspective, last year you said that sheriff's race between J.J. Jones and Sheriff Spangler would be the issue of the year.
Well, it was hot.
It was lively. Yeah,
It was lively.
It was lively.
And Don predicted that the race in the school board was going to be the issue of the year because it was partisan for the first time in almost 20 years.
That turned out to be interesting, especially, well, there were some races that were won that surprised us, including a guy who had sort of a track record that was not so great who won, but also the race with Catherine Bike.
Yeah, Cat Bike
In the
winning.
Purple District was that was a big, significant victory for her.
We're back with 2022 and what it looks like on the state level. Stay with us on this Christmas morning.